first glance, this painting seems to hide its own subject. The title says, "The Flagellation of Christ." But Christ is not where your eye lands first. He is pushed deep into the left background, inside a cold, perfect hall. And in the sunlit foreground stands a young man in red, barefoot, blonde, silent. He does not turn toward the scene behind him. He does not react. He simply stands there, pale and still, as if he is the real mystery. So, who is he? And why did Piero della Francesca make him more visible than Christ himself? This small panel, painted in the middle of the 15th century, is one of the most controlled images of the Renaissance. Everything seems measured: the marble floor, the columns, the coffered ceiling, the hard division between shadow and sunlight. Piero was famous for this clarity. His world does not explode with emotion. It freezes. And that is what makes the scene disturbing. A biblical episode has become a silent architectural puzzle. Now look only at the young man. His red tunic falls in heavy folds, but his body feels strangely weightless. His bare feet touch the pavement like those of a saint, a victim, or someone who no longer fully belongs to the present. His face is smooth, almost luminous, and his eyes drift beyond the bearded man beside him. He is not speaking. He is being shown. Piero places him where a Renaissance portrait would normally demand attention, near the viewer, in open light, at human scale. And this is the first clue. In this painting, distance does not equal importance. Christ is far away, but the perspective system silently leads back to him. The young man is close, but his meaning is hidden. Piero creates a trap for the eye. We notice the red figure first, then follow the architecture into the flagellation, then return to him with a new question. Is he a witness, a symbol, a dead man, or a political message disguised as a religious scene? The painting was once kept in the sacristy of Urbino Cathedral and entered the National Gallery of the Marche in 1915. But its commission, original location, intended use, and meaning remain unknown. This is not a painting with one clean explanation. It is a locked room with several possible keys. And the barefoot young man in red is at the center of almost every one. One traditional interpretation identifies him as Od Antonio da Montefeltro, the young Duke of Urbino killed in a conspiracy in 1444. In that reading, the two men around him belong to the political tragedy of Urbino, and the distant flagellation becomes a comparison. Innocent suffering in front, sacred suffering behind. The lost frame reportedly carried the Latin phrase convenerunt in uno. They gathered together, a line that could suggest conspiracy. But this is still an interpretation, not a solved case. There is another version, darker on a larger scale. After Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1453, many Europeans saw the Eastern Church as wounded and abandoned. Some scholars, including Kenneth Clark, read the painting as an allegory of the Church in danger. In that theory, the turbaned figure near Christ becomes a sign of the Ottoman threat, while the silent foreground group represents the political world that should respond. The young man in red may be an image of virtue, youth, or sacrifice, waiting for the West to act. A later hypothesis by Carlo Ginzburg connects the figure to Buonconte da Montefeltro, Federico's beloved natural son, who died young in 1458. In this version, the red-clad youth becomes a private wound, hidden inside a public religious political image. That would explain his strange beauty and stillness. He is not simply standing in the street. He is being remembered. The painting would speak to Federico not only as a ruler, but as a father. But Piero never gives us the answer directly. Notice how the young man's red echoes the warm pavement, while his pale skin almost echoes Christ in the background. He is visually connected to both worlds, the civic world in front and the sacred drama behind. He stands at the seam between history and theology. That is why the figure feels so unnerving. He looks like a portrait, but behaves like a symbol. So the real mystery of the flagellation of Christ is not simply why Christ is pushed into the background. It is why this barefoot young man in red stands in front of us like a clue that refuses to speak. He may be Od Antonio, he may be Buonconte, he may be an allegory of virtue, or he may carry a meaning once obvious to Piero's first viewers and now lost. But once you notice him, the painting changes. It becomes a question about guilt, silence, memory, and history being wounded. So what do you think? Is the young man a victim, a symbol, or the key to the entire painting?